We have bad news for every Chevy Silverado owner and fan. It seems like this might be the downfall of this legendary truck. Sure, this thing used to be really good, one of the best, but reports are showing the reality of the current state they're in. Low reliability scores and lacking quality. They might not be able to hold their beloved reputation so high anymore. Let me explain. But exactly how bad is it? Let's start with the one major thing that people are doing these days. Even the toughest, most rugged truck fans are paying close attention to their ride's MPG, thanks to those sky-high gas prices. And let me tell you, the Silverado isn't exactly doing itself any favors in that department. Take a look at the numbers. The base turbo 4-cylinder model only manages around 19 mpg in the city and 22 on the highway. Now compare that to the base offerings from Ram or Ford, and the Silverado just can't keep up. It's a real gas guzzler. And it's only got worse when you start looking at the V8 options. Chevy's V8s are struggling to hit 16 or 17 mpg in the city and maybe squeak out 21 on the highway. Meanwhile, Ram's mighty Hemi V8 is pulling off an impressive 23 mpg on the open road. And Ford's legendary 5-liter Coyote? That beast is getting an amazing 18 mpg in the city and 24 on the highway. The Silverado is really getting left in the dust. The only way Chevy can really hold its own on fuel economy is by going with the diesel engine. I hear they've seriously amped up the power and torque on that baby, even besting Ram's V6 diesel. But from what I gather, Ram's diesel still has an edge when it comes to highway performance. At the end of the day, it's crystal clear that the Silverado is trailing the competition when it comes to fuel efficiency. And in this day and age, when gas prices are through the roof, that's a major deal breaker for a lot of truck buyers. I mean, who wants to be constantly making pit stops at the pump, especially when you've got a big job to tackle? Speaking of tackling big jobs, that's another area where Chevy needs to step up their game: toughness and off-road capability. For the longest time, they were a little hesitant to really let loose and give us a full-blown, no-holds-barred off-road beast of a pickup truck. Sure, the Trail Boss had some decent upgrades, but let's be real, it was hardly the ultimate thrill ride for adrenaline junkies like us. And let's talk about it in detail. Updates. The Chevrolet Silverado ZR2 was here to redefine what it means to be a serious off-road contender. With a formidable lineup of features, including high-performance multimatic dampers and a robust suspension system, this truck is engineered to conquer any terrain. Those aggressive mud tires and dual-locking differentials signal that the ZR2 is not just another pickup, it's a beast ready to tackle the toughest challenges. But here's the thing. While the ZR2 is undoubtedly a force to be reckoned with, it's still rocking the same engine as the rest of the Silverado lineup. Sure, that 6.2-liter V8 pumps out a respectable 420 horsepower, but when you start comparing it to the competition, it just doesn't quite have that extra power to truly go toe-to-toe with the big boys. I mean, have you seen the insane power of those supercharged V8s in the Raptor and the TRX? Over 700 horsepower! That's just bonkers! And even the new Tundra TRD Pro with its hybrid system is putting down an impressive 583 pound-feet of torque. It's like Chevy is holding back, you know? They've got the suspension, the off-road chops, and the aggressive good looks, but they just need to let their hair down and give us an engine that can blow the doors off the competition. Can you imagine a Silverado ZR2 with, say, a supercharged V8 that puts out over 700 ponies? Heck, I'd be lining up to get my hands on one of those in a heartbeat. And sure, some folks might say Chevy isn't just about power, it's almost a luxury truck too. But let's talk about that for a sec. The Silverado LT has definitely stepped up its game with a superior interior makeover. Gone is the old, uninspiring cabin, replaced by a fresher, more modern design that's like trading in a faded prom dress for a sleek tuxedo. The updated materials and overall aesthetic are a significant improvement, no doubt. But let's not forget that the Silverado's true strength lies in its capabilities, not in its inferior thrills. This is a workhorse through and through, the kind that'll haul your belongings without complaint, even if it doesn't have the softest touch. And you know what they say, better late than never. Chevy has finally gotten their act together and given the old dashboard a much-needed facelift, and let me tell you, the result is nothing short of stunning. Imagine sitting behind the wheel of a Silverado that feels more like you're piloting a spaceship than a truck. It's a real head-turner, I'll give them that. But before you start thinking Chevy solved all their problems, let me pump the brakes for a second. The basic models still rocking that outdated subpar interior. And if you want the fancy new look, you've got to fork over some serious cash. And don't even get me started on the materials used in these upgraded interiors. When I'm dropping a ton of money on a new truck, I expect the finest, top-of-the-line materials, you know? But no, Chevy's still cutting corners and it shows. Compared to the competition, some of these upgrades feel like a total letdown. That's why the Silverado is a real mixed bag, especially when it comes to one major thing – value. Plus, the aesthetics aren't that good. And let's talk about it in detail because these type of things are subjective. Let me break down every feature, and you should just watch carefully. Design. Chevrolet has clearly put in the effort to take the cabin's charm up a notch. But here's the big question. Does it really hit that luxury nail on the head, or could it use a little extra polish? Let's take a closer look at the design features that really make the Silverado shine, while also pondering a few areas where it might be craving a little extra attention. But here's the thing, when you hit those bigger swells and potholes, well, let's just say the Silverado's not going to be quite as graceful. It gets a little jolted, you know? But hey, let's be real for a second. No truck is perfect, not even the mighty Silverado. Take a look at the Ram 1500 for instance. That fancy schmancy multi-link suspension is making waves in the truck world, turning heads left and right. Meanwhile, good old Chevy's sticking with the classic leaf springs. Now don't get me wrong, leaf springs have a special place in the history books of trucks. They've been reliable workhorses for ages, carrying the load and getting the job done without a fuss. But let's face it, sometimes those leaf springs can be a tad on the bouncy side, especially when your truck bed is empty. And then there's the F-150 riding in the same leaf-sprung boat as the Silverado. Somehow though, Ford's managed to iron out those road bumps a bit better. It's like they've got a secret recipe for smoother rides. But let's get back to the Silverado because there's way too many things to talk about. When this baby first rolled off the assembly line, there was definitely something a little off about it. I mean, the company was so eager to get it out there that they forgot a pretty crucial detail – updating the interior. The previous Silverado model had its share of issues, some smooth, others a bit clumsy. Imagine the engine doing the limbo with lifter issues. Sure, mechanics can sort it out, but it's not ideal. And on the inside, there are a few hiccups too. Let's start with the base models. These babies come equipped with a classic bench seat that can easily fit 3 grown adults. It's like having your own little diner booth just cruising down the highway. Now the higher-end trims really take things up a notch, swapping out that bench for a pair of comfy bucket seats. But here's where things take a bit of a turn. The second row in this truck just isn't all that great. If you opt for the double cab model with its extended cab layout, your adult passengers are gonna be feeling a bit tight back there. It's like trying to cram a couple of linebackers into a phone booth. Thankfully, the crew cab model swoops in to save the day with its ample legroom in the second row. Now, I know what you're thinking. This must be the ultimate family hauler, right? Well, not exactly. Despite the decent second row space in the crew cab, the rear seats just aren't designed for maximum comfort on those longer hauls. There's a distinct lack of side support, and the overall seating position just feels a bit awkward. It's like trying to sit comfortably on a park bench. You can do it, but it's not exactly relaxing. And to top it all off, the Silverado's rear suspension setup just doesn't seem to be geared toward providing a smooth, coddling ride for passengers. It's more like a bucking Bronco than a luxury sedan. I don't know what they were thinking when designing this thing, but the truth is, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So let's look at the safety issues, shall we? Safety and bugs. See, the Silverado's adaptive cruise control is generally pretty darn good at keeping you a safe distance from the car in front. But every now and then, it decides to throw a curveball and have a little hiccup. Imagine you're cruising along in stop-and-go traffic, just minding your own business, when all of a sudden your truck lurches forward like it's got a mind of its own. Talk about a heart-stopping moment, am I right? And the worst part is that you just can't sit back and relax when this happens. No, you've got to stay on your toes, keep a close eye on the road, and make sure this high-maintenance technological chauffeur of yours doesn't pull any more surprises. But the folks at Chevy didn't just throw in the towel, they went back to the drawing board and developed the Silverado's Super Cruise system, which is about as close to hands-free driving as you can get. The catch? You've got to be willing to pay a pretty penny for all this futuristic tech. Now I know what you're thinking. Is it really worth the splurge? After all, none of us want to toss our hard-earned cash at something that doesn't deliver the goods. So let's dive a little deeper into the pricing and figure out if this high-tech upgrade is truly worth the investment. First off, you've got to factor in the cost of the Super Cruise system itself. It's not exactly a budget-friendly add-on, but if you're the kind of person who loves being on the edge of cutting-edge technology and you don't mind spending a little extra, it could be a game-changer. Imagine cruising down the highway, hands-free, feeling like you're piloting a high-tech spaceship instead of a truck. That's pretty sweet, right? But the price tag isn't the only thing to consider here. You've also got to think about the value you're getting for your money. After all, what good is all that fancy tech if it doesn't actually improve your driving experience? That's where things get a little tricky with the Silverado. Sure, the Super Cruise system is about advanced as they come, but it's not exactly bulletproof. There have been a few hiccups. And let's not forget about the regular adaptive cruise control system, which can be a little, shall we say, temperamental at times. So is the Silverado's tech worth a splurge? Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It really comes down to how much you value cutting-edge tech and how much you're willing to put up with a few quirks along the way. But before you make that decision, let me tell you the list of issues because it has a lot of them. Let me dissect it for you. The bad side. First up, let's talk about those pesky transmission troubles. Imagine the truck doing a hesitant two-step every time you try to shift gears. It's like the darn thing has two left feet and can't decide which way to go. If you've experienced a problem, you know a quick trip to the mechanic with an OBD2 scanner can usually get to the bottom of it. But wait, there's more. How about those frustrating fluid leaks? I'm talking about the Silverado bringing a slow, steady drip from the front right where the torque converter is. It's like the truck's got a leaky faucet that just won't quit, and before you know it, you're stranded on the side of the road, scratching your head and wondering where all that precious transmission fluid went. And the fun doesn't stop there, folks. Even the high-tech infotainment system can throw a tantrum every now and then. You're jamming out to your favorite tunes and suddenly the touchscreen decides to get all glitchy on you. Talk about a real mood killer. While it may not be a major mechanical issue, those infotainment glitches can sure put a damper on your driving experience. But wait, there's more. Let's not forget about the paint quality concerns. Imagine buying a brand new 2022 Silverado only to find the paint already chipping off. And if that wasn't enough, this truck's got an insatiable appetite for oil. It's like it's got a never-ending craving, so you better be checking these levels regularly or you'll end up with some serious engine issues. And let's not forget about the suspension quirks on the 2016 models. It's like the truck is playing a game of mechanical ball with you, sometimes in, sometimes out. If every little bump in the road is making you feel like you're about to get bucked off, chances are the suspension components are to blame. But the issues don't stop there, folks. The Silverado's also got its fair share of internal and software glitches, which is kind of to be expected when you're packing this much high-tech wizardry under the hood. After all, modern pickups these days are loaded with all sorts of bells and whistles, just like those fancy SUVs and crossovers. So what's the bottom line? Well, the Silverado's certainly not without its quirks and challenges, that's for sure. But hey, every truck's got its own unique personality, and the Silverado is no exception. The key is knowing what you're getting into and being prepared to tackle those issues head-on. And who knows, maybe you'll even find a little charm on the Silverado's eccentricities. It's all about keeping an open mind and embracing the adventure, am I right? Price and reliability. Let's dive into the fascinating world of the Chevy Silverado, shall we? It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. There's just so much to uncover with this truck. On the one hand, it's practically a household name, synonymous with rugged reliability and the perfect blend of power and performance. But on the other hand, it's not exactly spotless when it comes to its track record. Let's start with the reliability factor. According to the crystal ball of JD Power, the Silverado's predicted reliability score for 2024 is a solid 80 out of 100. Not too shabby, but certainly not the stuff of legends either. And RepairPal has given it a respectable 3.5 out of 5 rating, enough to land it in the top 5 out of 17 full-size trucks. But when you start comparing it to the competition, that's where things get a little trickier. The Ram 1500 has really stepped up its game lately, offering a smoother ride, fancy tech features, and engines that pack a real punch. And then there's the Ford F-150, the gold standard for reliability in the truck world, with its sturdy engines, cutting-edge tech, and solid construction. And let's not forget the Toyota Tundra. Sure, it may not be the flashiest truck on the block, but its simple, no-frills design translates to some serious long-term durability. And then there's the whole cost of ownership factor to consider. Fuel economy, maintenance bills, resale value, it all adds up. And it's not always a pretty picture with the Silverado. And let's not forget about all those recalls over the years, covering everything from power steering to brakes to transmissions. As an owner or potential buyer, you've got to do your homework on the specific model year and make sure there aren't any lingering issues. Safety and peace of mind are key, so don't just take the dealer's word for it. Dig into those recall records. So there you have it, your complete lowdown on the Chevy Silverado as it stands today. So what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.